Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, colleagues, I'm actually speaking here for the second time, and first of all I want to tell everyone warm welcome to Accenture headquarters in Riga. It's amazing, we have more people than the last time, and I'm really proud and happy to see new joiners as well. And I believe DevClub is a fantastic place to meet people, to get some new connections, and also to know what is in the field happening right now, right away. So today I will speak about reimagining data pipelines in the age of AI. So the future is coming, it's cockroaching to all of us, and maybe for me as data engineer, one of the most important, of course, aspects is data in the sense of AI. So how do we use data? Where do we get data? What is its source? How ethical is its usage? And other questions. So, but today I will speak also about some specific solutions, which maybe I introduced this PhD and at the same time plan to use in the future at work. So we will have some hands-on experience. It's about the development, isn't it? Development, creating things, solving the problems, and making our lives better. So, first of all, maybe where we are currently at. So, technically, data engineering is a fantastic and huge field inside AI overall. So, we kind of eat around $42 billion per year, so that's a lot, and this means there is space for everyone, good news. And in fact, data engineering becomes more and more resourceful, there is higher demand, and we see huge demand to developers also in the market. That's of course good, because I believe this means we will have new members in DevClub in upcoming years. So, because the more technologies we have, the more helping hands we need, and the more value we can provide to our customers, to our clients, to solve problems at project, at work, and even at everyday life. Why not? So, we see how the background of data engineering is changing from day to day. We see that, for example, some technologies, they already obsolete and not used, but now powered by AI, the changes are dramatic. And maybe recently, the last but not least, hopefully not least, initiative from the United States of America was introduced regarding the Stargate project, which united around 500 billion investments in AI and joined different companies there together, including OpenAI and I believe even Microsoft, correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe this is the gate to our future, and at the same time very good sense for advancing the humanity, advancing the state of the art, and even bringing more profits, more value to the market. So, but what future we can see in this gate, it depends totally on us, it depends on the future of AI, which I believe is the topic of overall today's conference. And of course, not everyone sees the future green, bright, and prosperous, so there are different say paradigms in the world right now combating. But the good news is that still we as people, we as humans, we can shape the development of AI. And as a developers, I ask often myself question, hi Alex, what are you actually doing in the development? Why do you develop software products? And one of the maybe answers is because we can change the world. And actually right now all of you are also at Accenture, and you are as agents of change at some point, because by developing new software we are changing the world. At some point AI changed the world. It's more than even not space travel, but for example walking on the moon. So all these things, of course, are interconnected with the past of the humanity, and maybe the future is also sustainable, green, prosperous from the perspective of nature. So it's completely up to us to decide And also, depending on the logic, depending on the requirements, depends on mode and motivation of software solutions which we build. Then, of course, maybe some of you heard about important cases in the last year, in 2024, for example, the famous case when OpenAI solved the problem of the transportation ethics, and that's actually a tremendous advancement of AI, because remember, when OpenAI just appeared on the market, GPT was kind of, I would be straightforward. The questions, the answers provided often were dull and even incompetent or hallucinating. But however, now we have, for example, on the market O1 model that is super advanced. Yes, it costs a lot more than $200 with all VATs, but at the same time, it provides fantastic ethical solutions, which I, to be honest, sometimes think that even better than humans do. So, we are currently moving from just moving at AI to actually meaning of data. And by processing data as data engineers, we also need to understand the data on the fly, the patterns, what it beholds, the underlying structure of it, and also be able to extract insights, knowledge instantly. So how to achieve this? So this, at some point, is like a spacewalk. And maybe regarding the spacewalk, these two images actually bring very important three questions on AI. So first of all, ethics of AI and actually threats. Right, so we speak about threats and opportunities, and here you can see two phases of AI. In one case, AI caused driving car accident in the last year. So, and you see this real image from the accident which was caused actually by an AI. But then you can see that this image is generated by GenAI, which was actually reprinted story of this autonomic driving car accident. And you can see that there are some small nuances, for example, missing door on a car, or there is something on the bridge happening, right? So you can compare and you will see difference. But in fact, it's already very good quality, very high quality, and I would say even at some point better quality than the original. This is already this original video, and that's generated by AI. So another advancement also, what happened last year was, of course, ads. And who of you maybe like fast food? Do we have such people? Everyone, yay! So I too, I can confess, this is my confession, that 40 years anniversary that I love fast food. And thank you to McDonald's, actually, this ad is fully generated by AI, but that was one of the most successful ads in the McDonald's history. So you see, it's completely unrealistic. It's crazy, right? It's absolutely mad. You see, unrealistic people faces, some food, but at the same time, it was sold fantastically and very successful. However, we hear a lot of crazy stories about future, maybe about apocalypses or about nukes, about zombie apocalypses, and also with the help of GenAI, one movie already was created, and this lady is actually purely generated by also AI. But you see how realistic are her features. You can see even dots on her body, her skin, her eyes, beautiful eyes, hands, and everything else. So this is the work of AI, and it's fantastic. So, but thank you for maybe listening to motivation. Let's take a look also at the nearest future. So it's already quite close, I would say. So 2030. In 2030, we will have 700 zettabytes of data. 700 zettabytes. And in fact, by that time, we will not have enough devices in the world to store, to process this data and to produce some kind of results. So actually, amount of data is growing so fast in the world that at some point we as developers cannot control it. Because, I mean, you will often ask, who is actually in charge of AI? The answer is we developers, because we create the solution, and depending on our development, everything changes. And then also, some technology becomes obsolete. So, does any of you still using passwords? Are they using, right? So you, of course, all of us at some point use them. But according to latest research, maybe in a couple of years, we will not use passwords at all. Let's see if this forecast will come true or not. But that's one of examples of technology which will be replaced. Another one, this actually video projector also will be replaced. LCD monitors, no more LCD monitors, and other changes. So these changes, of course, of replacement technology creates fantastic opportunities for our businesses and also for technology. But then, age of magnetism is coming. So actually, good news, it will come. So this means that humanity still has hope. So we are not kind of hopeless. So age of magnetism promises a lot of AI development, and actually what we invest into artificial intelligence now will shape the future tomorrow. And hopefully the future will be sustainable and it will be also radically human. Then, as a developer of AI solution, I ask myself the question, so how to make AI smarter? So, how many of you have used Copilot? A lot, right? Wow, most of, yes, fantastic. So I'm the best, maybe, audience in the Riga right now, because we speak the same language. Of course, I also use Copilot, and I also often ask the question, so how to make, for example, it smarter? So how to make the produced code of better quality? How to optimize it in the sense? And at some point, of course, challenges are unfortunately dramatic. Yeah, so we face challenges with scalability of solutions, with real-time data processing, tools integration, low-code integration, high-code integration, different platform integration. Some of our solutions, they use more than 50 different tools. So how to maintain all this data flow in kind of sustainable and also manageable, trackable for our clients, for our also, well, just fantastic people who maintain the software. Thank you very much to them, actually, for those who work in maintenance teams, optimization team. And finally, resource optimization. How much, for example, energy we spend on storing the data? It's also a critical question right now. Say, in order to retrain one OpenAI model, right now we need to, not we, but it's necessary to spend more than 1 billion of euros. So, however, there is good news that automation is the key, automation is the solution for most of challenges that a data engineer face right now. It doesn't mean that with automation we will lose jobs. No, in fact, good news that with AI we will have more jobs and more tasks, more problems to solve. So this is not something that we need to be afraid of. Then maybe next stage of development is definitely agentic AI, and I would like to highlight maybe cloud AI, which is at some point quite autonomous and able to solve tasks. But what is behind each completed task? So there are always resources spent. There is always energy spent. There is always a huge chain of development process, and at the same time, not all these, even Oracle solutions are, say, optimized for specific use cases. So a lot of resources also are spent in improving these solutions. Then, how actually, what's inside each agentic AI? So if you will take a look from critical perspective, you will see that each agentic AI contains agent 4 according to MoveWorks. Then you will have other agents, which also at the same time consume resources consume computation power of all executors, of all data processing inside it. Then you will have actions, of course. And again, each action consumes power of agents, consumes power of agent core, and all interconnected elements. And the final, last but not least, maybe question is where all these agents and all these actions are executed. And how do they interact with each other? So imagine that if you work not in one ecosystem, but in multiple ecosystems of ecosystem, what do you do then? It's a huge problem. The next issue is related to improving actually the quality of, I would say, GenAI work. So not only from the perspective of produced data, but also from the perspective of meaningful. So the data, of course, must be meaningful. And RAG, of course, solutions now are very popular. It's on the rise, and a lot of students from Latvian University, TSI, and other, they do research on this topic, and we see advancement. However, it's also bound to the same limitations. Again, what, who, why, and how is processing all the data. And we are limited to query, we are limited to executors, and we are limited to infrastructure. So limitations, but where are the solutions? And then we face AI framework, which is actually kind of task-oriented and tools-oriented AI agent framework. I personally love this solution. It's pretty simple. Yeah, so I'm not promoter of this framework, but at the same point, it's simple and it often makes the work done. However, there are, of course, limitations because at the same time, you are really, in this architecture, you depend on the tools and other instruments which are included in the solution and which can be RAG, which can be agentic AI, or any of these, for example, fantastic instruments. So that's a real problem. So, and then we can think about how to improve data processing from the AI perspective. So how to make it consume less resources and produce more meaningful outputs. And the key maybe here the question is also why we need to do it. In fact, most data which is consumed and produced in the world is created in order to make better decisions in our life on day-to-day basis. Economical decisions, financial decisions, engineering, and all other. So in fact, we are moving to the state where actionable insights is the target, state of the art of the most effective, I would say, data engineering AI system. Then, as a data engineer, I thought, okay, what we actually need, how can we improve the state of the art and what we need for it? So I started from myself and started to solve the problem as a developer. So first of all, let's imagine, GenAI should help us to clean the data on flight, keeping the same resources. It should raise flags if something goes wrong inside the system. It should be able to handle real-time process. That's important, or at least close to real-time process. It's super important. Then it should be able to access large-scale knowledge base. And this, in the past, it was the problem. Because we had no LLM models, okay, there were a lot of LLM, but we had not GenAI at some point. So, but now we have it. This means we have access to all opportunities, all everything that GenAI can produce. Then also, AI should help us back up the data and actually maintain it and conduct a lot of other important stuff. So then, the solution. And to solve this problem, I saw that there is one dramatic problem in current agent AI solutions and actually in GenAI as well. That most of solutions, they are bound to specific task, not the data processes itself. And then actually, what I did, I introduced additional step in traditional ETL process. So maybe some of you worked with ETL, extract, transfer, load process. So what I did, I added on top of it GenAI to the chain. And in fact, now we have situation when the old data, for example, of specific project, it comes through the GenAI. So not performing specific tasks, but everything comes through GenAI model. And there is, of course, a lot of questions. And maybe one question is about ethics, about trust. Because if you want to build such a system, such a solution, you need to have a real trust in AI. And in fact, I needed to provide kind of administrative master level of access to all GenAI models used in the solution. So it was a challenge, because imagine if you have some sensitive user data, right? So this means that your solution is already bound to specific, to kind of model that it must be secure and so on and so forth. So it might be a problem, yeah? But at the same time, okay, I thought, let's imagine that we don't have this ethical problem. And I moved forward, I provided access, and in fact, the result was fantastic. So right now, inside prompt, I process project data, business logic, that is actually handling, for example, transformation, data cleaning, deduplication, and other stuff that is usually done by specific application, for example, Scala Spark application or PySpark application. Now it is moved on GenAI level. Then also prompt contains metadata, so data about data, meaning data about all tables in system, for example, and other nuances. It contains configuration, so specific configuration which needs to be applied to the process data set. And of course, it also contains some specific variables. So it can contain environmental variable and the private, public, and other variables as well, which also contains data from solution. And what was achieved, that in fact, at the first stage of ETL process, data is no longer just extracted. In fact, it's understood because it is passed through the whole GenAI model. So, as PhD candidate, I implemented this system in Hyperloop domain. I don't know, did any of you heard about Hyperloop technology? Yeah, so great. So ultra-high-speed transportation proposed by Elon Musk, and this is example from Hyperloop, and I implemented on prototype of digital ecosystem. So this is actually already technical architecture, so technical design of proposed model. So here you can see Snowflake data warehouse in the core. So Snowflake is actually very good, very, I would say, swift data warehouse that allows you to conduct real-time data processing in data lakes and other external systems. So it's pretty convenient, and to me, as say a student and PhD candidate, Snowflake is also affordable. So it's not as expensive as, for example, some other systems. Python application, of course, for GenAI models, Streamlit. In fact, the whole application is visualized using Streamlit. And then for the final data visualization, also in this case, here you see Power BI, but I use various tools, including Python itself. So then also introduced kind of CI/CD pipeline. Maybe all of you also work at some point with it, but so here the main idea was that to ensure that the code which is developed in feature branch is instantly deployed to main branch, and then application is also seamlessly deployed to end users, which is critically important. And the last step of the system, actually experiment setup. So how to prove the system actually works. I developed some experiments and conducted 600 simulations to actually prove that something is happening inside meaningful, let's say. Yeah, and experiments were created on, for example, creating new code for creating new database structure, for creating backup structure, for cleaning the data, to fixing missing data, and also even to removing the data. But before we will move to hands-on system, also I would like to share that in fact with EGTL model, with using GenAI on top of your data pipelines and on top of your data solutions, you can also achieve full automation, because actually GenAI makes the tasks for you. And now maybe let's have some hands-on experience. I would like to show you how the system looks in reality. So the code is absolute of prototype is open. So okay, 1 moment. No code of prototype, blue screen. But blue screen is something to start, isn't it? Like the sky. Sky's the limit for us. And yeah, so here, for example, the code is absolutely open for the prototype. Main is application core, developed in Python. And this application is visualized using Streamlit, which is also at some point fantastic free tool that allows you to deploy up in minutes. So as underlying data system, data system, I use Snowflake data warehouse. So here you can see different stores implemented. So for example, staging store, fusion store, align store. Maybe let me elaborate a little bit what happens on each level. So on fusion store level, we handle all data extraction to the system. So for example, raw data that comes from clients who are using this Hyperloop system goes to fusion store. Data which is extracted by GenAI models as well, it goes all there. So everything on the first stage, which must be cleaned, processed, deduplicated, and other tasks conducted, goes here. Okay? So to fusion store. Then in staging store, this is the place for all business logic, where all business transformation are happening. So here you see different indicators, example calculations, and other stuff. Backups, of course, for each service, for each indicators, and also some advancements, some specifications. And finally, align store. So align store actually named the stage as alliance because I meant it as alliance of developers, humans, and AI, in the place that all of us are allies. And this was also due to intention that I provided to GenAI full access to the system. So it has master access to the ecosystem, which I believe is quite quite brave move, to have to trust the AI. Okay, and here you can see, for example, deployed application which sits on top of all data processes in the system. So here I developed some simulation scenarios which allow you to test actually the robustness of solution. Then also the interesting also to you is actually EGTL experiment. EGTL experiment itself. Yeah, here it is. And you see I implemented it on top of 4 different GenAI models. Yeah, so you can use and use and replace with your own models, or you can use O1 even, why not? Maybe a couple of words about limitations of system, that it is expensive at some point because you need to pay to GenAI for each query that is conducted. So meaning if you have streaming data, real streaming data, then for each query you will pay. So meaning if you have, for example, 10 operations during the minute, you will pay for 10 operations during the minute. First, I calculated and thought, oh my God, it's super expensive, it's not realistic. But in fact, it's not as expensive as it looks, because in fact you parallelize the processes, so you have parallel streams, and you don't send huge chunks of data into GenAI. So send small ones, and then it's lighter, it thinks faster, and produces the results faster, and at the same time not as expensive. And then also, what we can see here that GenAI, on top of data processes, conducts some specific operation. For example, it generates code in real time. Yes, and if we execute the experiment, it will generate us some new tables. And the idea is also that when for example, new data is extracted by GenAI model, it also adjusts table structure automatically. So, for example, when you develop your own big data application, you have already client specification and specific configuration. For example, that your table must have 100 columns and 1,000 rows, let's say. But here the point is that GenAI is creating the structure depending the data that it extracted. So, for example, if it extracted huge chunk of data, then what it will make? It will make larger table with more underlying specification. It will also reload. So, in fact, it adjusts based on situation, and I believe that this flexibility is well, is very, very important and useful at the same time. So then also, what it can achieve, it for example removes system as well. So it compares the amount GenAI compares, not big data application, but GenAI, for example, it compares amount of existing specification, existing indicators, and if it sees that something, some redundant structures are created, then it removes it. And again, that's of course question of ethics. It's of course question of trust, because you need to provide trust in your solution in order overall to allow GenAI to remove structures. Then also it creates the same way backup structures. So it walks through all data sets, through all list of tables, checks that, for example, backups are not created, and if they are not created, it creates new structures. So something like this. And also it's able to raise flags. So for example, for some specific, I use it for some specific testing of hyperloop systems. For example, if there is increased pressure in a tube and some specific parameter goes higher than expected, then GenAI raises a flag that, okay, it's something bad is happening in a tube. And here, I think, yeah, you see query that is executed. So it's completely transparent, and GenAI actually prints everything that it is doing. So, in fact, it provides a lot of you flexibility, opportunity, and also some smart solutions. Yeah, so, as a reference, I recommend you to check GitHub. You can also contribute to it. It's still completely open source, and my students also sometimes write additional modules modifications. So I will be happy to see your commits and yeah, cooperate with you as well. So thank you very much, and also thank you to DevClub for this opportunity. Very, very happy and eager to listen to your questions. Thank you. Where questions?
Yeah, it's a transformation process. You also generate some data, or in this transformation, how would you protect from duplicates that would be generated?
Yeah, oh, that's a fantastic question about hallucination.
Yeah.
Yeah, hallucination of GenAI, and actually that was the hardest part. I can tell you that the key is prompt engineering. And the more precise your prompt is, which you include inside application, the better. And in fact, I partially solved this problem. I can tell you effectiveness is around 90%. So in 10%, it still produces hallucinates. So it still produces incorrect outputs result, but in 10% of cases. And the key, the answer to your question is prompt, which is inside application. So you carefully adjust the prompt, and you actually structure it very much. So we tell explicitly you pass in prompt variables, and inside variables you pass data with, for example, metadata, and you guide it. And you tell explicitly that, okay, I need only these structures and remove everything else. So kind of my answer would be by prompt engineering. And of course, by carefully choosing the model itself. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's extremely important which GenAI you use, and the same ethical question also arises. So you, of course, can use, for example, DeepSeek at some point. It's very effective. But is it ethical? I don't know. Yeah, so but I'm really eager to see results of next level of O1 models, yeah, which is considered to be one of the smartest, or let's say smartest model right now available in the market. Yep.
And what about data security? If you're transferring some data from something from your to the AI, how you can ensure it's not compromised or not used by other projects and requests and other?
Yeah, so of course security should be conducted at multiple levels. So first there is security on data warehouse level, and then second level is of course GenAI, and that's the most tricky one, right? So because again, everything here depends on the costs, how much resources you can spend. So because there are OpenAI proposes enterprise license, and these enterprise licenses, they are really secure, but they cost a lot. And from that perspective. And then again, if you invest in infrastructure, then also infrastructure is handled on the infrastructure. So security is handled on infrastructure level. So for example, on cloud, if you use Snowflake plus AWS, then it's on AWS side.
It's not possible to use these GenAI models and make some changes on premise when you're not using clouds?
Well, it's possible, but then you are responsible as a developer or company for security. And for example, for a startup, it could be really expensive, much more expensive, because I would say that right now, even focusing on costs by development, it's already a lot. So investments in development, anyways, this is quite large effort. So better to focus on development and leave security side to infrastructure, to provider vendor of cloud, for example. And then also, of course, by using different combinations of cloud services, you can also handle these security issues. Yeah, but then the question, of course, arises about ethics of data that is gathered by GenAI model. Yeah, but this you can also enhance by using the model itself. So, by choosing the right model.
I briefly reviewed your code. Just a question. Did I understand right? You're sending the whole data set to OpenAI and get the whole data set back transformed, or have you tried maybe generating comments for data cleaning separately and running them on your data locally?
Well, of course, it's parallelized. So the problem is if you would send in reality the whole data set, it would be overload, and you would spend thousands and millions of tokens. So in GenAI, kind of expenses are measured by tokens. So, and that's why The key here is to send small portions of data, meaning if you have terabyte, for example, of data, Hyperloop data incoming, you separate it into 1,000 or 1 million chunks and send these chunks into GenAI model. Yes. So
a follow-up question.
Yeah.
How do you sample this data you send? You take it randomly from different parts of the data set, or you just take first 100 rows?
By ranking. For example, by ranking the data. So ranking is data science, method from data science. So when you rank each data, but yeah, at some point this means that you can take, for example, first 10, literally first 10, ranked by the solution. Yeah, and of course you can also use exploratory data analysis methods, difference in order to propose a better way, for example, for handling.
And what actually do you mean when you say that like this large language model understands your data?
That's one of the key advantages of using GenAI model instead plus big data application, instead of just big data application, because GenAI technically, by using GenAI model, you get access to all functionality of GenAI model, and it can understand the pattern, for example, add missing data, and yeah, bring some important context as well. So technically, it understands the data. GenAI model understands the data.
Thank you.
So that you feed to the same as when you write a query to it. Go ahead.
Have you solved all the problems with the Hyperloop? And can you give advice to some guys in the States already?
Well, we can start a new startup for Hyperloop. I'm open for proposals, but of course, for Hyperloop, I think the way of Hyperloop is just starting. So technology is new.
Maybe you should focus on teleportation, something.
Let's see.
Importation of data.
But without, by the way, without jokes, yesterday I wrote an article about quantum computing that in fact time travel is possible from a mathematical perspective. So let's see.
In both ways.
So we don't
Which
need
you prefer? Back to paradise.
Okay, let's finish these questions. So if you still have questions, come to Alexei. He will be a few minutes in front. Thank you, Alexei.
Thank you.